I want to tell you about the Eisenhower Box. We're going to go over to the whiteboard here in just a second, but I want to tell you why this tool is so helpful. There are three reasons. The first is that when we're busy, we feel overwhelmed, and we actually get into this emotional state where we feel the burdens of the projects that are on our to-do list, the pressure of getting everything done. But we don't always know how to articulate it in a way that is meaningful to leadership. Now, what I mean by that is we can tell them that there's a problem, but we're not coming to the conversation with enough information to help them make a difference in the situation. If you come to me and you say, I'm really busy. Okay, what are you busy with? I don't know, just everything. I'm so stressed out. Okay, well, I can't help you. There's not a lot of information that you've given me to actually make this conversation meaningful. The Eisenhower Box cuts through a lot of that emotion and puts those things on paper. So now you're equipped with a tool that you can go to leadership and have a meaningful conversation. Very, very helpful change in the way that we have a conversation about time. The second thing that the Eisenhower Box does that's incredibly powerful is sometimes it actually challenges our own notion of how busy we are. When we put things on the document, we actually begin to see that there's a little bit more margin in our day than we thought. That's very important because as a designer, we get into these flow states. And this is true of all creatives. Any creative endeavor that I've been a part of, I've lost track of time because I've gotten into this flow. And what that looks like is me sort of zoning out and focusing on getting everything done that needs to get done. I'm a crisis guy. And so you give me crisis projects, I'm gonna switch into like high gear and get this stuff done. The problem is that I don't always have the ability to discern what is and what isn't a crisis project. So I'll just look at my to-do list and I'll see 20 items and I'll freak out because I can crisis manage and like perform at a high level for a sprint, but I can't do that for 20 projects. That's just not possible. The tool, the Eisenhower Box, helps me understand that not everything is a crisis. And so it lets me now compartmentalize my projects in an accurate and in a healthy way. It also reveals for me some projects that don't belong on my list in the first place. So it actually helps me understand my own timeline and my own kind of time reality much more effectively. The last reason I want to share it with you is because I have not ever shared this tool with somebody and had them be like, oh yeah, that's not that helpful. Every single time I've shared it, it's been almost revolutionary to the designer or the creative's ability to understand time. I actually talked with a good friend of mine. He was the communications director when I was serving as a creative minister. And I asked him about it. I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing a video for the Eisenhower Box. What do you think? He said, Matt, I have told so many other people on my teams about that tool. And every single time it has worked and it has been incredibly helpful. And so I want to share it with you because it is that impactful of a tool. If there's one single tool out of all the tools that I've developed over the years, that I've adopted over the years, or that I've discovered over the years, this is the one that has the potential to make the most immediate and the most significant impact to your well-being as a creative serving the church. All right, let's check it out. This is the Eisenhower Box. This set of 4 squares will completely change the way that you understand time, the way that you can have conversations about time, and in a lot of ways will help you have a more accurate view of how busy you actually are. And that's really important because a lot of times our stress comes from the fact that we actually don't have an accurate perspective of when things are due. I know for me, if I look at a bucket of things that are on my list, I'm stressed. I got 19 different things that I have to deal with. Well, that's true, but you don't have to deal with them all right now. Sometimes this pace of urgency grows in us and it becomes really hard to discern what things are due now, what things are not due now. I've heard this often said as, how do you know when you can turn off being a communications person? How do you know when you can, turn off your brain and engage with life? Because there's always more stuff on the to-do list. You're right. There is always more stuff. This will help you understand where it belongs. So I'm going to go through this quickly, but you have 4 different squares that your projects, your to-do list items can go into. My recommendation on application for this, print out the template, the PDF that I provide you, print it out and fill this out every Monday morning. And then you'll have a good sense of what your week looks like. If you live in a chaotic environment, you may want to do it every morning. That's fine. But do it and begin seeing the time and the margin that you have on some of these projects. So the top row here, you have urgent and not urgent. So some projects are going to be urgent. I need it by the end of the day. I need it for this weekend in some cases. Not urgent. You know what? We have this thing coming. It's a couple months away. And then we have important. This is stuff that really is tied to the mission of your church. It's not just who's asking. There's a layer of that, but really it's about, does this help accomplish the mission of the church or not? And then not important. Come on. These are things that in some cases shouldn't even end up on your list. And that's a little bit of an action step that you can take with this. If you find a lot of stuff in your not important category, then you may ought to consider delegating this to other people, or maybe have a volunteer do it, or maybe it's not even supposed to be on your desk. I've had plenty of projects that I've discovered weren't really mine. They didn't belong to me. They shouldn't have been on my plate, but they were not important. So let's get a sense of what this looks like. So I put this top left category, urgent and important. These are things I call fire drills, or fighting fires. You can live in this category for a stretch of time, but you cannot live in this category for a prolonged period of time. This is the rush up to Christmas. This is the launch of a new ministry initiative, things like that. It's urgent. There's usually last minute stuff that's a part of it, but it's also important. It's helping move the mission forward. Then you have not urgent, but important. That's the square right here. This is the sweet spot. This is where you want to live. If you can fill out your to-do list, if most of it lands in this quadrant, you're in great shape. What it means is that you can go home at the end of the day and turn off your brain because you have time, you have margin. It's not urgent. It's important. It's good stuff that you're working on. You recognize how your contributions are moving the mission forward, but it's not urgent. It's not so urgent that you feel guilty if you're taking a break. That's fire drills. So we're looking for this, the sweet spot. Now we have this category down here. These are things that are urgent. They're not actually important. These are what I call false importance. So these tend to be personality driven. There's a certain person on your staff team that always makes their project seem really important. A lot of times it's because, oh, something happened, it didn't go right, and I need it right now. The less time you're given, the higher the probability that it's actually urgency is the only mechanism they have to convince you to do the project. May not actually be important. So think about that. Think about, does this move forward the mission of the church? Or is this something that really I don't need to be working on? There was a season of time for me where I had a project come across my desk. I had to design labels that were to go on storage bins, and they were branded according to our multi-campus, multi-site, branding philosophy. I just remember sitting there thinking to myself, are you serious right now? Like, I'm designing labels that are on brand. They're going to go in a closet. Who cares? Write the campus name on it and whatever font you want. I don't care. This is one where you can use Comic Sans and it won't faze me. Why am I doing this? But there was an urgency to it. And so I didn't even have much time to kind of push back on it because, oh, it's due. It's got to get done. When we fall into that pace where we're getting projects done so quickly that we don't really have time to evaluate it, there's a good chance they're not important. It's the urgency that's fabricating the need for us to be involved. And then the last category, these are just straight up time wasters. These are projects that not only are they not urgent, they're also not important. They don't belong on your to-do list. Now, sometimes those are work-related. Sometimes it's, I'm good at graphic design, and so somebody asked me for a baby shower invite. Okay, I mean, it's not relevant to my job at all. It's not urgent. I shouldn't be involved in that. You know what? Thanks for thinking of me and inviting me to be a part of that. But it's just, I don't have margin to be able to pull that off right now. So no, I'm not going to do it. That's a time waster that doesn't belong. Sometimes they're not tied to your job. I'm tall, I'm 6'4", and so, hey Matt, we need your help. This is a real scenario. Matt, we need your help. Okay, I'm in the middle of some deadlines right now. Can this wait? No, we need you right now. Okay, what do you need? I come out of my office and I go down the hall and they say, there's a basket up on this shelf and none of us can reach it. Can you get it down for us? You gotta be kidding me. That was not urgent and that was not important. That's a time waster. I should not be involved in that. So how you take this concept is take your to-do list. Begin listing where do things fall. If you find that you have 5 things in the important and urgent list, only 1 thing over here, and then you have 2 things here and then 3 things here, you have a problem, okay? Because you can't sustain this over the long haul. This means that either other people are doing a bad job getting you information, they're not planning out enough. In some cases, it could be that your systems aren't operating the way that they need to. You need to get ahead of this stuff better. But what you have now is you have a document that you can go and have a conversation with your supervisor around. This is really the power of the tool. So let's say that the tool affirms you have too much in the fire drill category. This is crazy. You can't last in this environment. Let's say it confirms that. Okay. It doesn't solve it, but it now gives you an analytical or a data-driven conversation. So now go into your supervisor and say, hey, I just wanted to get your thoughts on this. So this is what my schedule looks like right now. I have 5 projects that are fire drills. That's a lot. They're all crisis, and I know you may not feel like you have time for this conversation, but I promise you, you have to make time for it, even if some of these projects suffer because of it. This is critical to your long-term longevity in ministry. I only have 1 project where I have enough lead time. I have 2 projects that just don't matter even though they have urgency attached. And then I got 3 projects that don't matter and they're not urgent. Help me understand what I should do with this stuff. Help me categorize it. Help me make decisions around it. Help me identify what projects I should be working on first. So what you're doing is you're not just going into your boss and saying, I'm so stressed out. I can't do this anymore. You got to change something or I'm out of here. I don't know what to change if I'm your boss. I don't know how to interpret what you're saying. But now you're giving me visibility into some of the projects that are on your list. If I'm your boss and you come to me with this, I can promise you I have a handful of conversations in my future. Hey, why are we not giving my team more time? Hey, what's wrong with our systems? Hey, why aren't you filling out our forms? Hey, why aren't you planning your events better? This needs to change or we're not going to be able to support you in the work that you're doing. That's a conversation that I'm going to have. And there's a good chance that your supervisor will have a very similar conversation once it's revealed that this is actually a problem. Now, the other thing might happen, and I say this because this is something that actually happened with one of my designers. We had the conversation, and there was a feeling that everything was urgent. And so I asked for a little bit more detail. I said, talk to me about what's happening. What are the projects on your list? And when are they due? We went through this exercise. This is what was revealed. We had 2 projects that were urgent. Okay, that makes sense. Urgent and important. That's living life in the trenches of ministry and communications, 100%. But these were the ones that were causing stress, even though they weren't urgent. And the reason is because when you have 25 things on your to-do list, and some of them are both urgent and important, that mindset gets applied to all of them. And so what we were able to do by using this tool, the Eisenhower Box, we were able to reveal these weren't all as urgent as we thought. And so now the designer could begin taking a breath. Oh, I've done these, because they were incredibly good at their job. So very fast, very skilled, got these things done in no time. And then all of a sudden, margin came. I can breathe. I can go walk around the office and talk to people and, clean my desk or whatever those things are that keep getting punted. So now all of a sudden we've revealed there is some not urgency to some of these projects, even though we're picking it up. So that's the power of the Eisenhower Box applied in your ministry and specifically in your job. So that's the Eisenhower Box. Check out the PDF that I've included. I just made my own version of it. Download it, use it as often as you want, give it away to as many people as you want, send them to my website to watch this video as many times as you want. But this really is a tool that has the power to transform the way that you see time. And what that eventually leads to is the ability to last in ministry and to be healthy in ministry. And that's what I care most about, is helping you have and build a healthy creative ministry in your church.